All right, I think we have enough people here now. Probably everybody's here. So I'm gonna get started. All right. Is everyone ready to start? Class? All ready to go? Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. This is my talk on Turnitin. So what I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be talking for a bit at the beginning with this presentation about the parts of Turnitin and a little bit about why you might want to use it. But the main part of this is going to be hands-on. I'm going to have you guys act as a class, sign in to Turnitin, become part of enroll in a class a test class that I'll create, submit some work, and I'm actually going to have some of you cheat on purpose to show you how it works in terms of catching plagiarism. Let's see, so creating classes of your own students. I'm also going to show you how I've used in the past rubrics and the comment bank system to make marking papers a little faster and easier for me. And I'll also be going over some things I've noticed, some pitfalls and best practices we can do that I've found in my experience in using Turnitin. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the features I haven't used but have looked into. You can integrate Turnitin with Moodle, but we don't have that set up yet, so I can't really explain how that works, except just the really general stuff. I haven't really used it for peer assessment, but I know that's an interesting part of the software. And they have an iPad app that I've played around a little bit with. I think I've got a pretty good handle on it, but we'll see. All right. First off, there are three main features to Turnitin, three main parts that you're going to see whenever you're looking at a student's submission. The first one is originality check. It's meant to catch and prevent plagiarism. This is, for most people, the biggest reason why you're going to use Turnitin over other things. But we also have grade mark. This is the system they use for actually grading papers. It includes things like a really great commenting system and systems for rubrics. A lot of stuff that I think makes it really easy to mark your papers quickly and give students better feedback along with it. And the last part is peer mark. This is, you can set up assignments that can be distributed to other students automatically, and they can sort of mark each other's work. You have options for using questions to drive how students will look at other students' work. Pretty useful. And here I'm just going to show you just an overview of what the views look like. We're going to see it in a little more detail later. You've got a match. This is the originality check section. You've got a match percentage up here. Gives you a quick indication of how much of it is plagiarized. Obviously, high percentages would be that would obviously be a red flag for you. Let's see. We've also got an overview of the matched sources, so you can see where the sources are coming from. Can't really see the detail there, but everything has been highlighted over here. So you can see this one is number one. It's this source over here, which I can't see very well, but you'll be able to see it more accurately when we start looking at it in the actual Turnitin application. All right, the second one, we've got grade mark. Here's what the grade mark view looks like. Over on this side, you've got access to things like comment banks. There's also rubrics, which are not being shown right now, but we'll see that later. You can make these comment banks for frequent types of comments that you make on a regular basis. If you find you're always saying things about, for English, punctuation, spelling, things like that, you can very quickly put in a comment that the student will see in the space on the paper where that's happening. In the comments here, they link directly to the text. You can notice here, there's a highlight. That highlight indicates that this comment, which looks like paraphrase, is about that particular sentence. So you can point directly to, like, this is where the problem is, and here's the type of problem. And lastly, we've got rubrics as well. You can make those ahead of time for faster grading. I use them a lot with IB because most of my grading is lab work. And really, there's only a few different types of labs I'm going to see in DP, so I can set up my rubrics ahead of time for what I want to mark on. All right. Last is the peer mark view. Over on this side of this right-hand column, you've got questions that the students will see. This is exactly what the students will see if they're doing a peer mark assignment. They have these questions to answer, spaces for answers there, and they also have sections where they can make comments on the text the same as a teacher can make. I don't believe they get a question or a comment bank, but they can make comments in different areas. They can do the same sort of highlighting that teachers can do, that sort of thing. All right. So that's it for the presentation part. Right now, what I want everyone to do is actually go to turnitin.com. That's turninit.com. Let me zoom in here. Okay. So everybody on your laptops, go to turnitin.com, and we're all going to get signed in. Does anybody not know their username and password for Turnitin? All right. Jason, you mentioned before that you've got the all the passwords and usernames for that? Okay. Let me zoom back out. So right up here we have our space to use your username and password. Get that put in. I'm going to sign in. So right now, I've only set up one temporary class. Let me run everyone through setting up a class. Because for most of you, this is going to be the first thing you're going to use. If you haven't used Turnitin before, you're going to have to start by obviously logging in, but then you're going to have to start making your classes. So I'm going to make a new class just for this presentation. We go over here to add class, the big green button. And just click that, and that puts us into the page they have for creating a class. Now, there's two types of classes, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the distinction between the two. There's a standard class and a master class. Let me zoom in a little bit on that here. Okay, standard class and a master class. The standard class is just basically one space for a number of students. One group that you have. The master class is a little different. It's made up of sections. Each section, and this is more of a university thing, can have a TA, but I found a way that you can do this without having to have somebody else as part of a section. The thing it's really useful for is you can make assignments for the whole master class and then distribute them to the sections as you need to. This is one of the things that I found with using this. It's really useful for DP courses because you have an HL section and an SL section. I find it works a little better if you set it up as a core section with everyone and an HL section with only the HL students. That way you can assign, for example, a piece of lab work to everyone or a piece of lab work just to the HL students. I find that's usually the best way to do it. I tried it before with having an SL and an HL class or section under a master class. The problem with that is you run into the problem of somebody moving from HL to SL. And at that point you end up sort of losing all of their data, which you obviously don't want to do. But if somebody moves from HL down to SL with having a core class, a core section with everyone, and an HL section with just the HL students, you lose their HL work, but that's it. You keep their stuff that's common to everybody. This, I find for me, for science, is a really useful way of doing it. That may be true for you as well if you have a similar situation where there's work that everyone does and extra work that HL students do.
So, you know,
yeah. It doesn't support masterclass. Okay. Does it support groups at all?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, so ignore everything I was just saying about master classes. So we'll just make a standard class. We'll just make a standard class right now. We have sort of the general stuff you'd expect. We have a class name. I'm just going to put down Turnitin PD class. And then we have an enrollment password. This is what you'll give to students so that excuse me, when they enroll, you can make sure that people will enroll to your class only. It's just a way of making sure when students are enrolling, it makes it a little simpler, I guess would be the word. So I'll try PD class, just something simple like that. And you put in a class end date. I'm just going to leave it as what it is right now. You'd set up your class end date for whatever it is you want, or whatever the end of the year would be, I guess. For a DP class, you'd want it to be whenever they're finished, so their graduation year, end of their graduation year. All right, so submit that, and that'll make a new class. And when it makes a new class, you see this view, this little window thing here that has class ID and enrollment password. This is what you'll give to your students to get them enrolled. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the Moodle plugin, if we put that into the Moodle plugin for each of our classes. We'll figure that out later, but for right now, if you're just using Turnitin as it is right now, then you will have to give your students the class ID and the enrollment password. Your class ID always shows up next to your classes right here. You see we got a class ID section right here, and it's right next to your class name. The password is in your settings, and you can go back to that through the edit link right here, this gear icon next to your class. So we can go in there, change any settings we want, there, and we'll just submit and get that back. All right. So I'd like let's see here now. Now I want all of you to get signed in as students. I'm just going to switch my view to student view. You can do that through a toolbar at the top of Turnitin. Lets you switch from instructor mode to student mode. So this way you can see what a student would see if they were enrolled in your class. So can everyone switch to student view? And you'll see enroll in a class. So you click enroll in a class, and then it would ask you for the ID number and the enrollment password. So I'm just going to go back and go to the instructor mode again. I'll get that number on the screen. So that's 717-5631. 717-5631 is the number that you need to put in as your the course ID number. And for the password, remember it's PD class, all one word, no spaces. Trouble with getting logged in and signed up? Okay. So you switch top bar says instructor, and you click that and it switches. Password is PD class. Yeah, that works. 717-5631. I'm going to check on who's logged in. Let's see who's a member of our class. All right. Now I'm in the class view. So I can check a number of things. I can check the assignments, students. It's got a grade book as well. I don't use that as much. I just type in all the grades into PowerSchool. There's also options for libraries and calendar, really mostly on here or here, assignments and students. So let's just check in students, see who we've got. Okay, oh, we got a lot of people already. Big class.